So it looks like everyone's starting. So, since this is the later half of, or like kind of the last stretch of the group stages here, I'm going to assume that a lot of people kind of can understand what this game is at least about in terms of what kind of game it is. However, we don't have the dash that is so well used in all of these other sections of the game. So we have to jump in the starting section because that's just faster than normal walking. But at the end of this tutorial, we get our dash, and it's time for Forsaken City, where we're not going to just use the dash traditionally, but there's also going to be a lot of techniques such as wall bounces and hyper dashes and wave dashes and extended dashes and just about everything you can think of. By dashing in certain directions or with certain input combos or in the right places at the right times, you can get some pretty crazy speed, do some pretty crazy skips, like there, Sefi doing a reverse wave dash, which reverses are weird. You kind of have to turn around, and you can keep your you can dash in a direction and then turn around at part of your dash and jump and still get a lot of speed out of it. It's really interesting just how much is in this game, especially how much is used in it in a small amount of time in this level here, because this level is a pretty open one. It's meant to introduce you to the game and the dash itself. So it has a lot of more open areas where it tries to get you to just dash through it. And so it's pretty interesting to see everybody do this differently. The one doing it the fastest, though, actually, is going to be Acres, it looks like. I don't know, in-game timers. Nope, it looks like Sefi was a little bit faster on that. But both doing the neutral jumps, well, Sound Defense is just going through the normal way, but still finishing with a very respectable chapter one time, as well as Noxitu, who's on the last screen. Meanwhile, everybody else is going to be moving on to chapter 2, Noxitu joining them. So, Old Site. This chapter is interesting because right now, there are these dream blocks. We can't really do anything with them. However, where we're going right now, we'll fix that when we get to this here. We will activate the dream blocks, and here you're actually seeing a kind of weird glitch type thing, where if you skip the cutscene, when you skip a cutscene, the game will put you to whatever exposition you were at, what you're supposed to be at when the cutscene ends, but it won't change your height. So you can use that to kind of get inside a dream block and just make things a little bit faster so that you can get into the battling section here. So here, what battling will do is basically we'll copy your exact inputs 3 seconds behind you. So you need to make sure that you're moving quickly enough so that she won't hit you, because if she hits you, very obviously you die and go back to the beginning of the screen, which is not a good thing to do. It gets kind of tricky in some of these later rooms where you have to collect stuff and start backtracking. But fortunately, since she's not a luck-based thing, she's not a luck-based obstacle, we kind of have ways to work around her and still move as quickly as possible with all of our movement techniques. Here you're going to see a good use of chaining hypers together to slip right under that wall. And looks like Sefi is going to be the first one out of the chase here. Soon to be followed by Acres, who's on this last screen now. And it looks like Noxitu caught up to Sound Defense, pulling about a screen ahead right now. And this is a kind of long screen, this last screen, so that's pretty good for Noxitu. But yeah, as the name Dream Block implies, this chapter takes place in a dream. So the section that Sefi is in right now and Acres just entered is called Awake. where you basically have to go through the past couple screens of the chapter, except there are no dream blocks, and it's just entirely movement and technique based. And it's a very cool looking part of the run to see someone at a high level do, because they'll just be able to chain a lot of really good things. And since your speed is never capped, you'll just keep on gaining and gaining. And then you'll eventually make it to Chapter 3 with SefiCompacto. So Chapter 3 introduces something pretty cool. It introduces cycles. Because luck is overrated, we have cycles instead, where when you enter the room or when you die, the dust bunnies here will move in different patterns. They'll always move in the same direction, starting at the same points. However, as I mentioned, that has changed. The points that they start is changed between when you die and when you enter the room. So that can be something that if you die in a room one time, you might get tripped up a lot more because of the cycles. So it looks like SefiCompacto is holding a really good lead here. Acres isn't that far behind, but still enough screens to have a little bit of a buffer in case Sefi struggles on something in particular. Meanwhile, Noxitu in the sound defense with the same scenario where Noxitu can have a bit of a screw up on a screen or two, but if sound defense doesn't have that screw up, it may make the race very close. It looks like sound defense is playing really safe here, which makes sense. These cycles can be mean, especially when there's a lot of open pits. And it looks like our bottom two are going to be making it into the huge mess now. So they're doing good progress on the chapter, as well as sound defense and Noxitu here. It looks like... Alright, so... I forgot. Alright, so Sefi, right now, is going to be coming up on a spike jump after this screen, where you have to kind of do a specific jump off of a wall, and the way that spike hitboxes work, if you're moving away from them, they won't hit you, and you can use that to wall jump off of that and just get through that quickly. It's kind of tricky, but it looks cool. Alright. Fix that. It looks like... Oh, wow. Okay. So while I was looking away for just a second, it looks like Acres and Sefi are basically tied now, where they are. Just exiting this path. That's just kind of crazy. Meanwhile, Sound Defense is a little bit behind Noxitu. Noxitu has a fairly decent lead on the Sound Defense, so... will be interesting to see how Sound Defense manages to catch up if he does. Acres unfortunately taking a death, solidifying that lead for Sefi, who is the first to finish the huge mess, hitting the towel button, and going to be moving on to the elevator shaft. So the first screen of the elevator shaft is kind of an infamous part of the level because it has some of the meanest cycles in the entire level. And that first screen, which is the only actual elevator shaft in the level, is kind of one of the meaner ones. There's one in a few screens that I also like to talk about as being an awful one, but we'll get to that soon. Meanwhile, we have Acres just a little bit behind. And then on the top, we have Sound Defense still about maybe a single huge mess passage behind where Noxitu is right now. So, still a fairly decent lead for Noxitu. And it looks like Acres Oh no, Akers did die. It looks like both Akers and Sefi are having trouble with B-cycles. Sefi getting it, missing the key. There we go. Oh, this race is tight on the bottom again. That is another one of the meanest rooms in the run. But both of them got through it around the same time. And it looks like they're just about even entering the Ashiro fight. Meanwhile, Sound Defense is about to finish up the huge mess, just a few screens away. It is going to be the last one, so with everybody already done with huge mess, almost done, is pretty impressive times for all four. Oh no, Akers didn't turn around and hypered right into a pile of dust bunnies. Alright, so I should talk about Ashiro, I guess. The way Ashiro works is he will dash at you every now and then based on your height, and that is indicated by the lightning strike that you see that goes across the screen. You don't want to get hit by that, however you can jump on him to get your stamina and dash back. It looks like Sefi is going to be the first one to finish Chapter 3 here, with Akers right on his tail. Sound Defense working through the elevator shaft checkpoint as Noxitu is just about to enter the fight with Ashiro. So, when it comes to Chapter 4, a lot of it's about kind of natural ways to mess you up with, whether it be bouncy clouds, whether it be bubbles that give you an extra dash, or whether it be wind that pushes you in usually a direction you don't want to go. This chapter really just likes to mess you up. So, hopefully we won't see that happen, but there's a very high possibility that it will. And it looks like Sound Defense finally entering the Ashiro fight, as Noxitu is on these last couple of screens. Oh, was basically off screen when he got hit. Alright, this looks good. Okay, yeah, taking the safety there with the upright dash makes perfect sense. And on the bottom, we have these two just a screen apart right now, which is very cool to see. Noxitu now finished with Celestial Resort, Chapter 3. Gonna be moving on. Oh no, Akers! We have Noxitu done with Chapter 3 now, as Sound Defense is getting closer to the final screen of this level. Just needs to do this screen and the final screen. The final screen is kind of just awful because it's a very long screen and there's no checkpoints on the whole thing. So if you mess it up at any point, which is a very easy screen to mess up on, it's back to the beginning of the screen with you. So it's very rare to see 4 players do it all super quickly. And unfortunately, Sound Defense taking a death there. I was about to jinx it, but the jinxing happened before I said what I was going to say, so don't blame me. Alright, and Akers kind of sitting on the problem with this chapter right now is that there are a few screens that are basically auto-scrollers. You just kind of have to sit there and wait for something to do something. But one thing we don't have to wait for anymore is for Sound Defense to finish Chapter 3, as he's going to be moving on to Golden Ridge, as Sefi moves on to the Cliff Face. So the Cliff Face is where the wind gets basically so harsh that you need to do some sort of dash in order to move forward at all. Fortunately, since what you can do is learn the wind patterns and then learn how to kind of move against them perfectly, and also with the snowballs, which are similar to Ashiro in how they work. They track your height and then do a dash across the screen. They have a bit of different properties involving their speed, their spawn rate, where they come from, their direction. But for the most part, they're pretty similar. And it looks like Acres has overtaken... looks like Acres has overtaken Sefi here, heading into the last screen of Golden Ridge for those two. Well, okay, Sefi still has another screen, so for Acres, definitely took the lead there. Meanwhile, the top here, we've got a fairly nice lead for Noxitu. A pretty comfortable lead for Noxitu. For Acres, I wouldn't say so much. Still a kind of scary lead. Because SefiCompacto is right there, entering Chapter 5, Mirror Temple, with Acres. And Chapter 5 has some mean stuff, so we do want to be careful here for Acres as Sefi enters the chapter and Noxitu enters the cliff face. So that's where you are. And it looks like Sound Defense is still in that kind of first half of the stage, kind of in like the second quarter of Golden Ridge. Sefi getting the key skip perfectly fine there, or the red bubble skip. And oh, we have Acres going for this strat here. Not getting a lot of speed. That's slightly better speed. Didn't get the full extent of the skip. You can even skip the next room if you get good enough speed there, but Acres having a little bit of problem with the speed. It is very hard to get that speed, but it's always cool to see someone even try it. Oh, and there it is for Sefi. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. That just looks absolutely awesome. You have Noxitu with a little bit of a stream problem, but he looks to be in the cliff face right now. So still a little bit ahead of Sound Defense, who's kind of getting close, but not quite into that cliff face. And meanwhile, we're going to have Acres into the mirror. Sefi hot on his heels. Alright, so we get some Seeker gameplay now. Noxitu's stream might have gone entirely down. Alright, well, Acres is now back to playing as Madeline after killing Madeline. And Sefi is joining in the unraveling section. So Seeker time. Seekers are very mean because they track your position very precisely to where even one slight change in your movement compared to something else can just completely ruin your day. Thanks to these guys. However, if you do your movement right, you can use these guys to hit the keys and stuff for you. And it looks like we have Noxitu trying to fix stream problem. Meanwhile, Sound Defense is in the cliff face. Yeah, it looks like Noxitu is trying to fix the stream problem right now, but it looks good now. It looks like it's running. And back into the game. Kind of unfortunate, but however, Noxitu had the type of lead where he could solve a tech issue and still feel comfortable being ahead at this point. So definitely thankful for the quality of the restream that Noxitu was able to figure that out. Meanwhile, we have Acres coming up on Search Skip with Sefi not too far behind. Just in this room now. And Acres gets it first try, does that reverse extended to get over there. Oh, no, not getting dash back, but Acres recovering with some nice wall grabs. And here's the Search Skip screen for Sefi. Noxitu is going for the 5B route. Now, I believe according to what I've read, as long as Noxitu doesn't do the menu storage, I think this is allowed. I'm not sure, but this will be interesting because I've been learning 5B, so I'm slightly better at commentating it than the last time I commentated a race that Noxitu did. But before we get to important parts of 5B, let's talk about Theo. So Theo will not let you move as fast, jump as high. Will just generally make you heavier. However, you can dash into Theo and then pick him up, and he'll still preserve your momentum. So by doing that, we still have a way to move quickly as Theo, and you can see both Sefi and Acres working through these screens like they're nothing. And, alright, now we have Noxitu going down here. Gonna unlock this door. Which is a bit of an interesting tactic, because you might notice that there's a key that is still not collected for Noxitu, and that's going to be addressed when we get there. But for now, Noxitu is just going to fly through this screen. Acres is going to finish up Chapter 5. Very well done. Sefi's still only a few screens behind Acres, so still super close on the bottom. Meanwhile, Sound Defense working like nothing through... That is not the right... Working through Chapter 5 like it's nothing, as Acres makes it into Reflection, where you have the golden feathers and you have the crush blocks. And you're soon going to have the pinball bumpers. Also, there's a spike jump there to skip the second key that you usually need to use from Noxitu. And Sefi finishing the chapter. So this, between the water, the crush blocks, the feathers, and soon to be the pinball bumpers, you learn quickly that Chapter 6 is really all about just kind of being able to move a lot of directions, like fly a lot of directions without much effort or thinking at all. And we have Sound Defense and Noxitu entering different mirrors at the same time. Pretty interesting. But... yeah. We're having a screen problem. This screen is really hard on Noxitu's end. Meanwhile, Sound Defense is going to be seeing the Seekers soon. And by extension, Theo fairly soon. Acres heading on to this screen, about to be at the split path section. Here we go. Sefi just a few screens behind Acres. Sound Defense getting into the Seekers at the same time Noxitu is, but again, still in different levels. Needs to get the stamina back. There we go. Very nice. And to answer a question from Tails Kirby, leg skip is a very hard skip, so, and it only saves 5 seconds, so there are people who just decide not to do it. And so Sefi and Acres decided not to do it. It's at the beginning of the chapter, but you just didn't see it this time. Maybe Sound Defense or Noxitu might want to go for it. I don't know. As Noxitu makes it here to see Theo. The Theo section of 5B is absolutely crazy. Like, just a ton of crazy things with throwing him in Seekers and hitting stuff. It's just insane. Meanwhile, we're going to have Search Skip coming up for the Sound Defense. The other two got it first try, and so did Theo, or so did Sound Defense. So everybody who did Search Skip has gotten it first try. Very nice. Meanwhile, Acres is going to start chasing down Battling. Oh. Alright, and this is the last screen of 5B for Noxitu. And fun fact, if you complete a B-side, which Noxitu just did now, once you just gotta watch this animation. B-side complete. If you beat a B-side, it unlocks the next A-side. So, Noxitu is going to be moving on to 6A as the sound defense enters Theo section. And no, the sound defense is just doing A-side. Nothing unusual here. Actually, that's a lie. There are some unusual stuff. There's a girl with a lot of hair. This is Battling. She's back. She caused some havoc. This is the fight against her, where you kind of want to run up to her and just hit her a lot. Every time you hit her, she will knock you back a little bit, make some new blocks fall, move backwards in the cave, and give you your dash back. So, in order to get a lot of movement as quick as possible, one thing you'll be seeing Acres doing a lot, and soon to be Sefi, as Sefi's close to entering the fight, is you're going to see people in the Battling fight trying to use their dash they get from hitting Battling to kind of like hit the ground ASAP, so they can like get some sort of hyper or something like that going, which is really good for just getting as much speed as possible, because a lot of the speed tech is based on the ground, so you want to get on the ground as much as you can. Thank you for the raid, Elad Difficult. Definitely appreciate that. Definitely appreciate all support thrown to any of the speed gaming channels. Right now we have currently a Celeste race. We have Noxitu versus the Sound Defense on the top screen and SefiCompacto versus Acres on the bottom screen. Right now we have Noxitu in the lead on the top, and on the bottom we have Acres in the lead. However, Acres and Sefi are currently in a very close race, as Acres is just about to enter the remix portion of the Battling fight, which is only a few screens away from where Sefi is now. So in the remix portion, the blocks move back and forth in cycles instead of just falling once, which makes it harder because now you have to account for where things are going to be at certain times. However, as you see with Acres sides, it's a very short section. Acres is already going to be entering the last screen of the fight, and therefore going to be very close to the end of the entire level. Meanwhile, Sound Defense is just here at the beginning of the level, and Noxitu is soon to be exiting, or very recently exiting the Split Path section, and soon to be entering the fight with... or not the fight, but the hunt down to start the Battling fight that Acres just ended. At the end of the fight, you level up, meaning your hair turns pink. So when you have pink hair, it means you have 2 dashes in the air before you run out of stamina. So since your hair was red before, it goes from pink to red to blue instead of just defaulting at red. And with that, you go up to the top here, now working with Battling and end the chapter, which is going to lead to the final chapter of the game, the Summit. Sefi also just now finishing the fight. Very good job from both bottom racers on a very good Battling fight. It looks like Sound Defense is just about to make it to the split paths. Noxitu's just about to enter the fight, just a water screen and a Battling boost away. Meanwhile, Acres is here in Summit. So the thing about Summit is it's the longest chapter, it's the hardest chapter. It's a combination of every chapter and then a little bit of original stuff. So you see here we have some Chapter 6 related stuff going on right now. And also, since you have 2 dashes, it's a lot more aerial based than the other chapters. So As I mentioned earlier, a lot in the battle and fight, a lot of our movement techniques are based on the ground. So this is a pretty interesting chapter because despite the chapter wanting us to go in the air a lot, we're going to be trying to find a lot of ways to get on the ground and get our dash back as much as possible. And if that includes straight up skipping some stuff, then we'll do it. So the first major section here is the summit base, which leads into the 500-meter section of the mountain, where you will be going through kind of edited version of Forsaken City with some harder level designs, stuff like that. It's a lot trickier, obviously. All of these sections are basically a lot harder than their normal chapter counterpart, for one reason or another, which I'll talk about later. But for now, we have Noxitu in the battle and fight, doing very well right now. And sound defense working through the split paths. Still a very close race between Sefi and Acres. Alright, so Sefi, soon to enter 1,000 meter section where Acres is, a good callback to Chapter 2, the old site. We have sound defense now on the battle and hunt. And Acres, actually something interesting is the mechanic has taught you that you can jump out of height of dream blocks in this game. One thing the game doesn't tell you, because it's kind of not really the most intended thing in the world, is you can also hyper dash out of these dream blocks. Which obviously will use up a dash, but you can use it to get some pretty good forward speed when coming out of a dream block. But with that, Acres now out of 1,000, heading into 1,500. 1,500 meters, similar to the normal game, where Chapter 3 is usually where the difficulty really starts to pick up. 1,500 meters where the difficulty of the summit just really starts happening. There's a lot of longer screen here with a lot of really mean cycles that can mess you up just in the blink of an eye, and then you'll have to do the whole screen over because no checkpoints. Acres making it through this first part of the level, though, pretty nicely. Despite all that. So just has kind of the last screen of the section to deal with it. The last screen of each section involves you hitting some orbs to get battle and to throw you up into the next section. So you do have to hit the orbs in the sequence to get the last one to even be at the right place. Otherwise, you just will not get thrown upwards. And with that, we're going to have Acres entering the 1,500 meter, or the 2,000 meter section, my bad. SefiCompacto working perfectly so far through the 1,500 meter section. Messing up here, don't want to enter that screen having to use a dash, because you want to have 2 dashes for this screen usually when you enter it. Having a little bit of trouble here with the ultra dashes, which you're going to take it safe, which is definitely understandable. This is one of those evil screens I mentioned. Meanwhile, moving our direction to Acres, going to be setting up auto-scroller skip here. Gets to the second arrow block, and gets the wall bounce, skipping that auto-scrolling block. Meanwhile, on the top, we see sound defense get into the battle and fight a little bit ago, and is doing pretty good in making progress through each screen of the fight. Meanwhile, we have Noxitu just entering the summit, at the summit base now, on a very good run. So definitely gonna be good to see how Noxitu finishes. Acres is entering the last screen of the 2,000 meter section as Sefi just enters it, so has a pretty decent lead against Sefi now, which is crazy because at some points in this race it was literally synced. So it's interesting to see how much Acres is just getting cleaner and cleaner. This is a really insane summit from Acres right now, which is definitely understandable why someone would have trouble even if they were rather close entering this section, because this is just insane gameplay entering 2500, which is a really mean section. So if Acres wants to start messing up in Summit, now is the time that it could happen. We have Sefi messing up auto-scroller skip, saving it, trying to go for a mini version and missing that and dying, so gonna go for the big version again. Meanwhile, Acres makes it just fine through key skip, where you do 2 neutral jumps off of very specific corners, and you skip having to go to a different screen to go get a key. Also an intentional retry there to get back. They did that all the way back in Chapter 3, and I never mentioned it because the screen that the reset is on is more noteworthy than the reset itself, but there. And saves the second, and is very difficult. Got it, though, so nicely done. And now working on the last screen of 2500. Meanwhile, we have Sound Defense is about to enter the last screen of the battle and fight, so very soon Sound Defense is going to be the last person to enter the Summit. It's going to be cool to have all 4 players on Summit, especially all of them in different sections, as Noxitu's in 1000 meter. SefiCompacto is working through the final section of the 2000 meter, and Acres entered the 3000 meter. So the 3000 meter section is its own kind of unique section where it has its own gimmicks. The most noteworthy thing is the countdown flags. Each checkpoint is now not a screen transition, but a flags. The flags are numbered starting from 30 and counting down all the way to 1. And then once you get to flag 1, the next flag you're going to see is the flag that's placed at the summit of the mountain, and that's where the game's going to end. So this is kind of like a countdown clock to the end of the game. I know a lot of people like to count down the flags as the racer collects them, or the runner. So if you want to do that, do feel I mean, if you feel like you have to do so, do it, but don't feel like you're forced to do it. Just have fun, you know? That's what racing is about. SefiCompacto, a little bit of a sketchy screen there, but gets through it, and then key skip. Looks like... Alright, Sefi messes it up. We're gonna be cleaning up. There we go. Gets key skip. Sound Defense gonna be joining everybody here in the summit. At the base, Noxitu at 1500, so a very good lead for Noxitu right now. Gonna take a lot for Sound Defense to take this victory from him. We'll see if Sefi does door skip. Skipping flag 8 here. Flag 8's kind of out of the way, so you don't usually see it. But it can be risky if you die. Fortunately, Acres didn't, and... Oh my god. Really? I've never seen anyone do that. That was pretty cool. Yeah, so Acres skipped the battle and throw there, and entered the final screen here of Summit. The final screen has the last 5 checkpoints, just as Acres hits the 30th to last, so... a little bit of a disconnect there, but this is looking to be Acres' game. This is also looking to be Noxitu's on the top, as he's working on 2,000 while Sound Defense is only in 500. Again, gonna take a lot for either of these leads to shift, especially with Acres hitting checkpoint 2. I can't imagine it happening. Yep, just gonna go up here. And, oh, taking a death at checkpoint 1. Checkpoint 1 is a fairly simple one. There's a few kind of tricky things you want to watch out for, especially when trying to move as fast as possible, but it's usually not a problem, as Acres makes it up. A little risky there, makes it to the top, skips the cutscene, and finishes in first place in the race with a time of 36:13, a very good time. That was an absolutely crazy summit too. Like I don't know what that summit IL was, but it was a really good summit. We see Noxitu just barely missing auto scroller skip. Wonder if he's gonna go for it again. Sefi about halfway through 3,000 and sound defense still working in 1,000. Ooh. A lot of these screens with the upwards winds here are really difficult in 3000 because you're a lot floatier, so it makes it kind of gives the game an excuse to place a lot more spikes. And we have Acres with us now. Hello there.
Hello, what's up?
Not much. Congratulations on your victory.
Thank you.
That's your end. That's the end of your group stage, right? You went 6-1.
Yeah, that was my last match.
That's awesome. 6-1 is a really good record. Yeah. So, can I want to ask normal questions.
Okay.
Like, you know, what do you think was your best and worst parts of the run? But before that, I want to ask, was that a gold summit?
No, actually, I don't know. It was like a 940, but I'm pretty sure I've gotten a 930 before.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say that was an absolutely insane summit.
Yeah, I practiced it the most, so I expect to have really good summit times.
I've barely played this game since I finished all my group stages, so I'm probably would be fairly rusty at this point.
Yeah.
But like, that level of summit is just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very good run, though. I don't know what your PB is, so I don't know how close it was to that.
It's a 35.52, I think?
Okay, so you were like 20 seconds off.
Oh, I could have easily PV'd, dude. The beginning of that run was a disaster.
The beginning of the race was actually really close. There were times, like, in Resort where you two were actually, like, I thought that there was a little bit of lag because there's been a little bit of stream problems on a few of the racers. I legitimately thought that the screen glitched and I was watching the same screen on like 2 setups.
It's insane.
Yeah, but Sefi did just finish, so GG's
nice.
there.
That's a really good time you just finished with.
Yeah, 38.58. Really good. Really jealous, because I've had runs on that pace that I lost like 2 minutes to.
Aww.
This game can do that.
Oh yeah, Summit will do it to you.
Yep. Especially 3000 can be just awful with some of its updraft screens.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of 3000, that's what Noxitu's entering now.
This run had 1 less death than my PV, but it was still 20 seconds slower.
Dang.
Hey, I had some costly deaths towards the start of the run, especially like
Yeah.
chapter 2. Okay, so I don't know if you were paying attention at all, but I was like reverse hypering, like not reverse hypering. I was hypering the wrong way a lot of the time, and that's because I'm playing with a new controller and I'm trying to use like the analog sticks. Like I think the one I remember is like chapter 3 at the beginning of Oshiro.
Yeah, I remember that one Oshiro you hypered into the dust bunnies at the end of the screen, and I was like, that's actually something I've never seen before. Because this game can kind of have problems if you're playing with analog and you're trying to do a diagonal.
Yeah.
The game will just kind of mess with you sometimes. But I've never seen I've never seen that.
I've been having issues with that. Like the diagonals weren't even an issue. It was just like me dashing the wrong way, like horizontally. I don't understand. But
yeah, that was still a pretty good run.
Yeah, I definitely would have PB'd if I wasn't playing so poorly at the start. I think I had almost 10 deaths in Resort, which is actually pretty bad.
Resort is a mean state.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, It's the stage in the run where the difficulty really picks up from the beginning.
No, I died 8 times. Close enough.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Noxitu having a little bit of problems with flag 10. The last third of the flags can be kind of brutal because not only did I mention does it like pits and spikes everywhere, 3000 also likes really tight spaces. It's a nightmare. Sound defense isn't quite there though, so not quite there for the nightmare. Still at 2500, but getting close. Meanwhile, we finally see Sefi's pie. 47 deaths and a 38. That's pretty good.
Oh, wow. Do you happen to know what sound defense's PB is?
I have no idea.
I'm gonna check that real quick.
Let's just hope speedrun.com is up to date.
I've noticed that it really hasn't been, sir, since the tournament has started. People have gotten so many, like, race PBs just by, like, seconds and stuff and haven't updated it.
Well, 4921 is what speedrun.com says, and if that's true, that's definitely something that the sound defense is on pace to beat.
Definitely on pace for a PB.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Noxitu, we see now.
He's also on PB pace.
Well,
according to speedrun.com. But this is going to be a huge PB if this is up to
well,
date.
what was Noxitu's PB?
It's a 4550.
Well, if that's the case, then it's now 4320 with Noxitu
cow.
finishing up. That's awesome.
It's huge. 2 minute and 30-second PB.
Alright, and so that just leaves us with Sound Defense, who has, according to speedrun.com, if they want a PB, they have 5 minutes to complete 3,000 meters, which is definitely a doable thing. Even if you want to take a lot of things safe, that's still a pretty decent buffer of time to have a few problems on stuff.
Did Noxitu do 5B instead of finishing 5A? I think I saw
that
part.
Noxitu does that. Last Noxitu race I commentated, that happened. And it was great, because menu storage hadn't happened yet, so I hadn't even cared about 5B. But
I've been
now...
so out of the loop, like... I'm in the, like, Celeste Discord, and I've seen, like, this new glitch, but I don't know exactly what it is.
It's something I'm not gonna get into. Because one, I think it's like in the process of like being like patched out and not happening. And two, there's kind of a lot of debate around it that I don't want the chat to get into.
Okay, yeah, I'll just read it.
But yeah, but people do still like to do 5B, and I think even with some really really interesting strats, 5B might still be faster without the glitch. I'm not 100% sure on that fact, but it's like a basically task strat. Alright, sound defense getting into this kind of gauntlet area. there are a lot of kind of areas I like to refer to as gauntlets because, you know, 3000 is just kind of like that. But this kind of specific section from like 13 to 7 is just one of the more notorious ones. It's got a lot of tight spaces, which I mentioned earlier.
There are also very long checkpoints.
Yeah. Alright, there you go. Had a little bit of a problem on sound fences and making it to the final 10 checkpoints. We'll see. Based on the amount of stuff I noticed he takes safely, which is a good strategy in this, I'm assuming we might see checkpoint 8 grab, but I'm not sure. Yeah, we're gonna see that. Makes sense, especially if you see the pace you're on. I don't know if sound defense does, but hopefully. Oof. So it was about 2 minutes and only has like 6 more checkpoints, so well, let's just. I'm just excited to see sound defense finish his off. Oh, saving himself there from a stamina failure. Also, was it you who kind of skipped the battling orb that goes to checkpoint 6?
I did.
Is that faster?
No, I just did
Okay.
it because I was like, why not?
Because I've always wondered if you could do that. And I think I did it once when I did a joke playthrough in assist mode. But I always wondered if that was actually... I wondered if that's actually faster. It made me laugh a bit.
I don't think so.
But yeah, we have sound defense coming up checkpoint 2, so very close to being finished here. Oh no. Oh no! Could have saved that! That was... Checkpoint 2 is a sneaky one. It kind of seems like it can be a simple one, but if you mess up that last part of checkpoint 2, even in the slightest, it can be very unforgiving. But hey, getting to checkpoint 1, and if speedrun.com is accurate, this is a PB by about 35 seconds. Finishing with a 48-46. So GG's to the sound defense on the finish. I'm gonna see if we can get anyone else in for post-race, or...
I'm lonely. We're lonely.
Oh no. Alright, I don't think we're gonna see anyone.
He's in the Discord. He's just in the.
Oh, okay, he's getting set up.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Hello
Hey
there.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
Sorry, I'm a little out of sorts, I guess.
Don't worry about it. That was a PB, right?
It was like 30
Congratulations.
seconds.
Congrats,
Thank you.
man.
That was a pretty nice run to watch.
Thank you. I was like for the first like 5.5 chapters, I was really feeling good about that run. It started to fall apart a bit around the summit. Feeling I could have gotten a better PB, but still, it's hard to complain.
Yeah, Summit will kind of always carry you up at a certain level. And really, that's the difference. What I think one of the bigger differences between how much you can tell someone's work is paying off is how their Summit goes. Because despite this game being pretty low on the luck, this game still likes to throw dumb stuff at you and make it feel like your hard work and practice is not paying off at all.
Yeah, I have not had as much time to practice as I would like between work and travel. So, I do sort of blame myself. I should have been working more on this, and I probably would have seen better games.
Yeah, well, you still finished off your group stage with 1 victory on your belt, so that's better than 0.
Well, that was a forfeit victory, but thank you.
Well, you still played your matches, so that's better than not.
It could have been worse. I appreciate
Be positive, Pete. Let me be optimistic.
I appreciate that.
PBing should be a win in your heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
My goal right now is 45, and I think looking at that run, I thought at first that maybe a deathless run could get me close to there, but I think I'm gonna have to learn some new tips and tricks in order to really manage that.
Yeah, you can do it, man.
I believe in you.
All right. Thank you very much.
And with that, do you guys have anything else you want to say before I wrap things up?
Nope.
Just
for
thank you.
GGs.
Yeah, GG everyone. Thank you everyone for watching.
All right. Well, thank you for the race. It was very good. I definitely would recommend following all the racers. Gonna post the commands in chat to follow whoever you'd want to follow. I'd recommend all of them. I'm not even followed to all of them. I'm a hypocrite, aren't I?
For shame.
I'll do it. Trust me. But yeah, that was very good. I'd recommend it for sure. And if you want to watch more Celeste in a race, or in an hour, we have another race. We have another 4-way even. We have Nenshin versus Upright Thumbs, as well as Flare Bear versus Chocolate Cake in an hour on Speed Gaming 4. FC Racers is going to be on commentary for that one, so that's sure to be one with fun. That's going to be a fun one to watch and listen to. So I definitely recommend showing up to that race. However, on the status of this race, we're all done here. So we'll be seeing you in an hour, I guess.
Yep. All right. Adios, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.